Hello, right away, mommy group. I am so glad to be here. A big thank you to Jewel for inviting me to come and speak. If you are joining us live, go ahead and in the comments put here. And if you are watching the replay, go ahead and type replay. We'd love to know that you're here. My name is Deanne Welsh, and I am the founder of Unstoppable Writers, as well as a writing coach. And I have a son, Eli. He's 3 years old. And when I joined this group 2 months ago, I have just loved what Jewel is doing and that we have this safe space to talk about both writing and mothering, because balancing the two can definitely be a struggle sometimes. So I'm talking to you today about how to get started writing even if you don't have it all figured out yet. So let's go ahead and jump in. The very first thing that I want to talk about is mommy guilt. How many of you, when you're sitting down to write, when you are taking that time, even if it's just a few minutes away from your kids to focus on your writing, start that process, so often we feel that guilt. It's so hard as moms to do something for ourselves and to take that time. And because writing is not loud, it's quiet, it's hard to actually focus on our writing. So I would love to hear from you. If you are a mommy who sometimes struggles with making time for your writing because of the mom guilt, go ahead and just type me, that's me, or yes, I definitely struggle with that sometimes. It is completely normal. So in our journey of starting to write, the first thing we have to acknowledge as moms is that there is a tension, that tension between writing and mothering, and regardless of whether we were writing or even just doing something for self-care or taking care of ourselves, that creates a tension and a mommy guilt as well. So the faster that we can acknowledge that there is a tension, the faster we can move past it, because even though there's a tension, that does not mean that you shouldn't do it. What it does mean is that your writing is going to look different at different seasons of your life, at different ages of your kids. And so embrace that. Don't be afraid of that tension. The second thing, as we get started with our writing journey, is, and I would write this somewhere, I actually have this phrase in my office so I can look at it and be reminded that our writing, it's about movement and not perfection. It's so easy to look around and see writers who are where you want to be or who are doing what you want to do eventually, and to get discouraged. We think, I have to have all my ducks in a row, I have to know more about writing, I have to have big chunks of time, and all those lies are just putting barriers up between you and beginning that journey. And so I really want to encourage you, remember that it is about movement and not perfection. And so that also means being kind to yourself. So you are not putting shame on yourself or belittling yourself because you're not further along in the journey. Just realize that any movement forward is worth it and is good. And so embrace that. The next thing that you can do to start your writing journey is what I call tiny goals. Again, it's so easy to think, I have to have these really big audacious goals, I have to have my book written in a year, and I have to have at least an hour every day to write. And honestly, let me know if you can relate, say yes in the comments, but as moms, we often do not have big chunks of time. And so tiny goals can really help us in that we set goals that are so easy to achieve. Maybe it's, the first 5 minutes of nap time, I'm going to write. Or as soon as I drop off my kids at school, the first 5 minutes, I'm going to write. And the smaller your goals, the better. Because the goal is to simply sit down and start instead of getting hung up on the mountain that we feel like we need to scale yesterday. And so I want to encourage you, and I'd love to hear from you. Do you have a tiny goal currently? Or what is a tiny goal that you can put into place now? And as moms, something that I had to do, and it's hard when you're visual and when you're writing from home, is when we actually have time on our calendar to write, when we actually schedule it, what happens to me is I look around my house and I think, oh no, there's laundry, oh, there's dishes, and this list starts in my brain of all these things that need to be done. And if I'm honest, what happens is that I equate my value as a mom with that list of accomplishments to be done. And so what I've had to do is actually schedule times where I do not worry about household chores. And that means almost like a horse putting on blinders when it's pulling a carriage. I have to put on blinders, and even though I see the dishes, I'll acknowledge them. I'll say, wow, there's a lot of dirty dishes in the sink, but I'm going to go right first. Because the reality is, all of those household chores, you're going to get them done. You're going to squeeze them in. They're not going to be neglected. And so it's, for me, I found when I put my writing first, then those other things get done. So I want to encourage you, set those tiny goals and then honor them. Let me see if I see your comments here. Yay, comments. Okay, Jewel, you edited and made soup today. That is awesome. Yes, tiny goal and multitasking. And then Dr. Seuss Renette, I'm not sure what that means. I'd love to hear more. But yes, those tiny goals are huge. And the reality is, none of us can really sit down and just write for 3 hours. Those breaks are actually good. And so don't see your mothering and those distractions as a disadvantage. Instead, even use them as an advantage. And I'll come back to that at the end. So you have that you embrace the guilt and the tension. You realize there is a tension. There is going to be some mommy guilt. But again, if you're like me, when I'm not writing, I'm less sane. Writing really makes me sane. And so when I'm not writing, I'm shorter with my husband, shorter with my son, because my passion has no outlet. And so embrace the tension between mothering and writing. It's okay. Number 2, it's about movement, not perfection. Don't get caught up in having all your ducks in a row. Just start small, start moving. And then tiny goals. So setting those small, achievable goals each day, whether it's I'm going to write for 1 minute, I'm going to write for 5 minutes. And again, give yourself permission to let your other responsibilities go for that amount of time. You're going to come back to those responsibilities happier, fueled, because you invested in your writing. And then the next tip is I want you to get support for your writing. And this group is one of the best ways to get support. So often we think, I'm alone, no one else struggles like this. And again, we start spiraling into shame if we're not careful. We think if I could just, get my housework done faster, then I'd have time to write. If I was just more together, then this would be happening. And the reality is none of us has it all together. A few weeks ago, my son was sick, and he's currently going to preschool 3 days a week, so that's usually the time that I can write and do live videos. But he was sick for a whole week, and so it was just so discouraging because in my head I had these goals and all these things I wanted to get done. And the reality is, when you're a mom, is that we're walking that tension, and there are times when I have to let my goals go and just focus on my family. But then there's other times where I can focus on my writing and my family understands. Thankfully, my husband is probably my biggest cheerleader with writing. And so even in the evenings when he gets home, our son loves playing with him. And so I'll tell John, I'll say, hey, John, is it okay if I go, sneak away for 10 minutes or 30 minutes and get some writing done? And he's usually great with that. And so be creative. Think about who can you get on your writing team to help you. And even if it's in this group, if you see someone where you love their writing, you love their comments, you think, wow, that person seems great, I'd love to get to know them more, I want to encourage you to actually push yourself and invite them for a coffee Skype date and hear more about each other's writing, or set up an accountability. For me, I'm very introverted, and so the first time that I invited someone to coffee over Skype, I was really nervous. But the nice thing about doing things over Skype is you can schedule it, you can think about your questions ahead of time, And so I really want to encourage you. We have so many possibilities with technology. So get that support, make a friend, reach out. Even if it is a little bit uncomfortable, it is well worth it. I have not regretted a single person that I have met over coffee yet. So just want to put that out there and encourage you to start connecting with the people around you. Okay, so that is all the tips I have for you today. Let me just go over them one more time. Embrace the tension. It's about movement, not perfection. Go ahead and do those tiny goals to just get started, because another tip with that is as you move forward, you're going to gain more clarity. So let's say right now, you know you want to write, you're not clear on what you want to write. That's okay. Just start writing. Maybe it starts with journaling, because as we write, more ideas and clarity comes. And then finally, I would love to see you get support. Okay, Renee, you said use the writing time as a reward for doing a task you don't want to do. I love that. So you're even weaving it in with your to-do list. So rather than, I have to, do the dishes. I hate dishes, which I hate dishes. I also hate vacuuming and cooking. Confession time. But exactly, Renee. So you could say, I'm going to do the dishes, and then I get to have, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of writing. I love that idea. I'm probably going to steal that from you. So do you guys have any more questions? Oh, Autumn. Yes, what I'm talking about is your biggest struggle. I completely relate to that. And I'm not going to cry, but when Jewel asked me to come speak to you guys, part of the reason I love this group so much is that this tension that we feel is a huge reality. And most of us, we wake up every day with that tension. And it's hard to, claim and protect that space for our writing, but then also not feeling guilty about it, and knowing that our writing actually makes us better moms, better wives. So Autumn, I just relate so much that it is a big struggle. And what I love is that this is a group where we can talk about that struggle and what we're doing that's working. So even if you guys right now, if you have a tip how you balance mothering and writing, put it in the comments. This is a great time to share and get new ideas. Each one of us will have a different approach, and so it's great when we can share our knowledge and help that way. And then I wanted to come back to a point I made earlier, that as writers, it's easy to look at the season of motherhood as a disadvantage and a problem and something that's holding us back from the success that we could have. But I really want to encourage you, and this is what I go over with my clients too, that it doesn't have to be, you don't have to look at it that way. Your mothering can actually be an asset because you're able to go deep. You have hours where you're just watching your kids play, and so it's very easy to, when you're having those moments, to have a notepad and pen handy and allow yourself to daydream about books, about what you want your future to be. And you may not have the time right now to actually do all of those things, but what you're doing is you're asking those questions now so that when the time opens up, you're ready to go. You have the foundation, you know who you want to be, who you want to serve, all of those questions. And even as you are a mom and you deal with the tension of emotion and scheduling it in, think about the amount of discipline that you are creating in yourself so that, again, when you have space, you're going to be disciplined and you're going to use it. I have a friend, and he is a stay-at-home dad, and he is an entrepreneur, and we were talking one day, and I was telling him how I was so excited that Eli was going to start preschool because I would now have these 3 chunks of time to work on my business, work on my writing. And he mentioned how when his kids went to school, he actually found himself more distracted and didn't achieve the goals that he wanted. And it was so funny because even as he was sharing that in my head, I was deciding, no way, like that's not going to be me, because I know what I want, I know what I want to do. And so I was able to when Eli went to preschool to really see a lot of movement in a short amount of time. And so I just want to encourage you, you can use this time to lay foundations, to ask yourself those deep questions. What do I want to write about? What does success look like to me? Who is my audience? Who I want to serve? How am I going to make an income from my writing? Those are all incredible questions that you have time and space to ponder and think about. Because again, your time is limited, but your think time is not limited. Yes, Jewel, what you said, disciplined mothers know all about that, absolutely. And then Renette, the things your kids say and do can be a real inspiration for later, absolutely. Because we, as mothers, sometimes we feel stuck, but we're learning so much, we're growing so much, our character, our integrity. Autumn, and here I thought all of you had it together. It's so nice to know I'm not alone. Absolutely not. We don't have it all together, and it's a season thing, it's a daily thing. I shared in a blog post this week how, there's days where I'm confident and I feel like I'm killing it with my writing, but then there's days where I just want to stay in pajamas all day and I just wonder, what am I doing with my writing? Why am I taking the time for this? So that is so normal to have that tension. And even the people that you see that you think are the most successful, they have that same struggle, I promise. Every single person, whether they're, let's say, Jeff Goins, or whether they're your neighbor down the street, we all have that struggle. Just some of us are better at hiding it than others, or when you see us, so for example, for me, when you see me, I'm on Facebook Live, I've done my makeup, I did my hair, I thought about my outfit, but every other day when I'm not on Facebook Live, I don't have makeup on. My hair's in a ponytail. There were 3 days I didn't shower because Eli was busy and sick, and yeah, it's always know that you're not seeing everything. And then Jewel, you said we have to write even when we're not writing. Absolutely. And that's where your thoughts and your think time comes in. Okay, guys, well, it has been a complete pleasure being here with you. If you have any other questions, whether on the live or the replay, just post them here. I will come back and answer any other questions later, so feel free to comment. Jewel, no makeup. Yeah, I just put it on like 30 minutes ago for this video, so. Okay, you guys, you're awesome. Keep supporting each other. Keep writing, even if it's not what you wish you could and the amount of time. That will come. It will. I know everyone says it, but there's seasons, and just keep laying that foundation. You're welcome, Jewel. It's a pleasure. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.